Come with me, I know your worth.
The champagne glass slips from Brianna Cole's fingers. It shatters against the marble floor of the Schiller Hotel ballroom, and the sound cuts through the wedding march like a scream. 800 guests turn their heads. Crystal fragments scatter across white stone, catching the light of chandeliers worth more than her childhood apartment building. But Brianna doesn't hear the gasps. She doesn't see the faces. Her eyes are locked on the man standing at the altar. The man she crossed an ocean to marry. The man who just raised his hand to stop their wedding. Wait. One word. That's all it takes to destroy everything she's built. Hyunwoo Park stands in his immaculate black tuxedo, his jaw tight, his eyes empty of the warmth she once believed was real. Behind him, the officiant freezes mid-sentence. The orchestra's final note hangs in the air like a question that will never be answered. Hyunwoo. Her voice comes out as a whisper. The layers of French lace suddenly feel like chains wrapped around her chest. What are you doing? He straightens his cufflinks. A casual gesture. The kind of movement a man makes when he's discussing stock prices, not ending a year of promises. I can't marry you, Brianna. The collective intake of breath from 800 throats sounds like wind rushing through a canyon. Brianna's knees threaten to buckle, but she forces them to hold. She's stood on stages before. She's faced boardrooms full of men who wanted her to fail. She will not collapse. Not here. Not in front of these people. We've planned this for a year. She hates the tremor in her voice. Your family approved. The invitations went out to every major news outlet in Seoul. What are you talking about? Hyunwoo glances toward the front row. His father, the Park family patriarch, sits with his hands folded across his lap, his expression carved from granite. His mother examines her manicure as if this moment is beneath her attention. They knew. They all knew this was coming. My family and I have discussed it, Hyunwoo says. His tone is the same one he uses in business negotiations. Measured. Final. You're not suitable for our family's legacy. I made an error in judgment, and I'm correcting it now. Not suitable. The words hit her like physical blows. 3 years of her life. 3 years of learning Korean, of navigating his world, of proving herself to people who never wanted to accept her. And she's not suitable. Then why did you propose? Brianna's voice rises despite herself. Why did you put a ring on my finger in front of the Seoul press corps? Why did you let me stand here in this dress believing you loved me? Because I made a mistake. He says it like he's returning a defective product. But I've found someone who truly belongs in my world. Someone who understands what this family requires. Brianna's blood turns to ice. Who? The answer doesn't come from Hyunwoo. It comes from behind her. Me. That voice. She knows that voice better than her own heartbeat. She's heard it every day for 3 months. Heard it laugh at her jokes, cry at her mother's memorial. Promised that this time would be different. Brianna turns. Tanya Cole walks down the center aisle in a dress the color of fresh blood. Crimson silk clings to her curves, and she moves like a woman who has already won the war. Her smile is the same one Brianna remembers from childhood. The same smile that appeared every time Tanya stole something that belonged to her sister. Tanya. Brianna's voice breaks on the name. What is this? Her sister reaches the altar and slides her arm through Hyunwoo's elbow. The gesture is possessive. Practiced. They've done this before. I'm sorry, sis. Tanya doesn't look sorry. Her eyes glitter with triumph. But let's be honest. You were never going to keep him. You don't understand what men like Hyunwoo need. You never did. The Park patriarch rises from his seat, his voice booming across the ballroom like a judge delivering a sentence. We will proceed with a new ceremony. Tanya Cole will marry my son as originally planned. The guests may remain seated. As originally planned, the words echo in Brianna's skull. This wasn't a last-minute decision. This wasn't Hyunwoo getting cold feet. They planned this. Her fiancé, her sister, his entire family. They orchestrated her humiliation down to the last detail. Phones rise throughout the ballroom. Cameras flash. Someone is already live streaming. By tonight, Brianna Cole will be a viral joke. The American woman who got dumped at the altar for her own sister. The punchline to a story she never agreed to tell. Her chest constricts. Her vision blurs at the edges. She needs to run. She needs to disappear. But her legs have turned to stone, and 800 pairs of eyes are pinning her in place like a butterfly mounted under glass. This is it. This is how her story ends. Abandoned, humiliated, alone. Then a voice cuts through the chaos. That's enough. 2 words. Spoken quietly. But somehow they silence every whisper, every gasp, every rustle of fabric in that massive ballroom. Brianna turns toward the sound. A man rises from a seat near the back of the room. A seat she could have sworn was empty 5 minutes ago. He's tall, broad-shouldered, with black hair swept back from a face that belongs on ancient currency. Sharp cheekbones, a jaw that could cut glass, eyes so dark they seem to absorb the light around them. His black suit fits like it was sewn directly onto his body. The collar sits open just enough to reveal the edges of intricate tattoos climbing up his neck like vines made of shadow. More ink covers his hands, disappearing beneath his sleeves. A small silver earring catches the chandelier light when he moves. He walks toward the altar. Guests don't just part for him, they scramble. They press themselves against chairs and tables like he's a flame and they're made of paper. No one speaks. No one breathes. The park patriarch's face drains of color. His composure cracks for the first time since Brianna has known him. Kang Jae-won. The name comes out strangled. What are you doing here? This is a private ceremony. The man called Kang Jae-won doesn't acknowledge the question. His eyes remain fixed on Brianna as he closes the distance between them. Up close, she can see the controlled power in his frame, the stillness of a predator who never needs to rush because his prey has nowhere to run. He stops directly in front of her. "You don't belong here," he says. His Korean is formal, precise, each syllable weighted with meaning. "Not with these people." Brianna stares at him. Her heart hammers against her ribs. "I don't know who you are." "No." Something flickers in those dark eyes. "But they do." He extends his hand toward her. Tattooed fingers, steady as stone. "Come with me." Behind her, Hyun-woo finally finds his voice. "Jae-won, this has nothing to do with you. She's just a..." "Speak again." Jae-won still doesn't look at him. His voice drops to something barely above a whisper, but somehow it carries through the entire ballroom. "And I will burn everything your family has built to the ground. You know I'm not making threats." Hyun-woo goes silent. Brianna looks at the hand in front of her. At the tattoos covering skin that radiates warmth. At the man who has managed to do what she couldn't. Silence the people who just destroyed her. She doesn't know who he is. She doesn't know what he wants. She doesn't know if walking out of this ballroom with a stranger is the smartest or the stupidest decision she's ever made. But she knows one thing. She's done being suitable. Brianna takes his hand. His grip is firm, warm, certain. Without a word, he turns and leads her down the aisle. Past the frozen guests. Past her sister's shocked expression. Past Hyun-woo, whose face has gone the color of old milk. The ballroom doors swing open ahead of them. A man in a dark suit holds them wide. Another waits beside a sleek black Mercedes, engine running. Brianna doesn't look back. The night air of Seoul hits her face as she steps out of the Shilla Hotel. The city glitters around her, millions of lights burning against the darkness. She can still hear commotion erupting behind those doors. Voices rising, chaos spreading. She climbs into the car. The stranger slides in beside her. The door closes. The Mercedes pulls away from the curb, and Brianna watches the hotel shrink in the rearview mirror until it disappears entirely. Her hands are shaking. Her wedding dress pools around her like a cloud made of broken dreams. She still doesn't know this man's name. Still doesn't understand why the most powerful family in Seoul looked at him like he was death walking in a tailored suit. She turns to face him. "Who are you?" Kang Jae-won meets her gaze. The city lights slide across his features, illuminating the tattoos at his throat, the sharp intelligence in his eyes, the ghost of something that might be amusement tugging at his lips. "Someone who recognizes strength when he sees it," he says. "And someone who knows exactly what the Park family has been hiding." Brianna's pulse stutters. "What did you just say?" But before she can ask, a phone buzzes in his pocket. He glances at the screen, and his expression shifts. The almost warmth vanishes. Something colder takes its place. "It seems your fiancé has made his first mistake of the evening." He looks up at her. "He's just sent men after you. We have approximately 12 minutes before they reach us." The Mercedes accelerates into the Seoul night, and Brianna realizes she's just traded one kind of danger for something far more terrifying. Can you imagine being dumped at the altar for your own sister? What would you do if a mysterious stranger offered you escape? Drop your answer in the comments right now. My beautiful people, my fiancé and his family said no one loves me, and no one will subscribe to my channel. Please, can you help me prove them wrong? If you're enjoying this story, smash that like button and subscribe before we continue. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. The Mercedes cuts through Seoul like a blade through silk. Brianna grips the leather seat beneath her as the driver takes a corner fast enough to press her against the door. Through tinted windows, she watches neon signs blur into streaks of pink and gold. The city she thought she knew suddenly feels like foreign territory. 12 minutes. That's what he said. 12 minutes until Hyunwoo's men catch up to them. She turns to look at the man beside her. Kang Jae-won sits perfectly still, his phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Korean too fast for her to follow. His free hand rests on his thigh, tattooed fingers drumming a slow rhythm against the fabric of his trousers. He ends the call. 3 vehicles, he says, as if reporting the weather. They're tracking your phone. Brianna's stomach drops. My phone? The park's installed monitoring software on it 6 months ago. Standard procedure for anyone entering their inner circle. He holds out his hand. Give it to me. She hesitates. That phone holds everything. Her contacts, her emails, her photos of her mother, the last voicemail she never deleted. Now, Miss Cole. Something in his voice makes her obey. She digs the device from a hidden pocket in her wedding dress and places it in his palm. Kang Jae-won rolls down his window. Wind rushes into the car, whipping Brianna's veil across her face. He tosses the phone into the night without a backward glance. That phone had my entire life on it. Her voice comes out sharper than she intends. Your entire life was with people who planned your destruction for months. He rolls the window back up. Consider it a fresh start. The Mercedes takes another sharp turn, merging onto an elevated highway that winds through the heart of the city. Brianna watches the speedometer climb. 90 kilometers per hour. 100. 120. Who are you? She asks the question again, harder this time. And don't give me riddles. I just watched my fiancé marry my sister. I deserve a straight answer. Kang Jae-won studies her. In the darkness of the car, his eyes seem to glow like embers. My name is Kang Jae-won. I control approximately 40% of Seoul's underground economy. The Park family has owed me a debt for the past 7 years. Tonight I decided to collect. The words land like stones thrown into still water. Each one sends ripples through everything Brianna thought she understood. Underground economy. She says the phrase slowly, testing its weight. You mean organized crime. I mean power, Miss Cole. The kind that doesn't require elections or board meetings. The kind that built Seoul into what it is today and maintains order where your laws cannot reach. Brianna should be terrified. She should demand he stop the car. She should throw open the door and take her chances on the highway. Instead, she asks, what kind of debt does the Park family owe you? Something shifts in Jae-won's expression. A shadow crosses his features, there and gone in a heartbeat. 7 years ago, Hyunwoo's father made a promise he didn't keep. People died because of his cowardice. People I cared about. His voice remains steady, but Brianna can hear the steel beneath the surface. I've been waiting for the right moment to remind him that debts don't disappear just because you pretend they don't exist. And I'm that moment? Brianna lets out a bitter laugh. So I was right. I'm just a pawn. A piece you moved to hurt them. That was my original intention. Yes. The honesty catches her off guard. Was? Kang Jae-won turns to face her fully. The city lights paint strange patterns across his features, illuminating the tattoos at his throat, the sharp line of his jaw, the intensity in his gaze. I expected to find a trophy wife, a decorative piece the park heir had selected to improve his public image. His eyes hold hers. I did not expect to find a woman who graduated top of her class at the University of Michigan, who taught herself Korean in 18 months, who built a career in one of the most competitive consulting firms in Asia, despite every obstacle placed in her path. Brianna's breath catches. You researched me. I research everyone who enters the Park family's orbit. Most aren't worth remembering. He pauses. You were. The car slows as it exits the highway. Through the windshield, Brianna sees iron gates rising out of the darkness. Guards in black suits step forward, recognize the vehicle, and wave it through without question. They're ascending now. The road winds upward through thick forest, leaving the city lights below. Brianna counts 5 security checkpoints before the estate finally comes into view. Her breath catches. The mansion stretches across the mountainside like something from a historical drama. Traditional Korean architecture blends with modern glass and steel. Lanterns cast warm light across manicured gardens. A waterfall cascades down a rock formation into a koi pond that seems to glow from within. Where are we? My home. Kang Jae-won opens his door as the car stops before a massive wooden entrance. You're safe here. The parks don't have the resources or the courage to breach these walls. Brianna steps out of the Mercedes. The mountain air hits her lungs, cold and clean. Nothing like the exhaust-heavy atmosphere of Central Seoul. Guards materialize from the shadows, bowing to Jae-won as he passes. She follows him through the entrance and into a world she never knew existed. The interior is warm where she expected cold. Wooden floors gleam beneath soft lighting. Art hangs on walls that smell faintly of cedar and jasmine. Somewhere deeper in the house, she hears water flowing, music playing, the murmur of voices that go silent the moment she enters. A woman appears. 60 years old, perhaps, with silver-streaked hair pulled back in a severe bun and eyes that miss nothing. She takes one look at Brianna's wedding dress and raises an eyebrow at Jae-won. Unexpected, the woman says in Korean. Madam Cha. Jae-won switches to English, perhaps for Brianna's benefit. Please prepare the East guest suite. Miss Cole will be staying with us. The woman called Madam Cha examines Brianna like she's inspecting merchandise of uncertain quality. For how long? As long as necessary. Something passes between them. A silent conversation Brianna can't interpret. Then Madam Cha nods once and disappears down a hallway. You have questions, Jae-won says. It's not a guess. I have about 1,000 questions. Brianna pulls off her veil, suddenly exhausted by its weight. Starting with why you actually helped me. The real reason. Not the revenge story. Not the debt collection. Why did you walk into that ballroom and offer me your hand? Kang Jae-won is silent for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is quieter than before. Because I know what it looks like when someone is being sacrificed by people who claim to love them. His eyes meet hers. And because no one offered me a hand when it happened to me. The admission hangs in the air between them. Raw, unexpected, human. Before Brianna can respond, Madame Cha returns. The suite is ready. She looks at Brianna with something that might be the beginning of respect. I've laid out clothing. You'll want to remove that dress. Brianna glances down at herself. At the French lace that cost more than a year of her mother's salary. At the train that dragged through champagne and broken glass. At the dream she wore like armor into a battle she never knew she was fighting. Yes, she says quietly. I suppose I will. She follows Madame Cha down a long corridor. At the end, a door opens onto a suite larger than her entire Seoul apartment. Windows stretch floor to ceiling, offering a view of the city sparkling far below. Mr. Kang does not bring people here. Madame Cha pauses at the threshold. In the 12 years I have served this household, you are the first outside guest to sleep beneath this roof. Brianna turns to look at her. Why are you telling me that? The older woman's expression remains unreadable. Because you should understand the significance of tonight. You are either very important to him, Miss Cole, or very dangerous. She pauses. Perhaps both. She leaves without another word. Brianna stands alone in the silent room. Her reflection stares back at her from the darkened windows. A bride without a groom. A woman without a country. A stranger in the house of the most dangerous man in Seoul. She should sleep. She should process. She should figure out what comes next. Instead, she walks to the window and pulls out her tablet from the small bag she'd hidden in her dress, the one device the Parks didn't know about, the one she'd bought with cash and never connected to their network. She opens a browser, types a name, Kang Jae-won. The results load slowly. When they do, Brianna's blood turns to ice. The ghost of Seoul's underworld. The man who makes presidents nervous. The Shadow King who controls everything from shipping routes to construction contracts to the very police who are supposed to hunt him. Article after article. Rumor after rumor. Bodies that were never found. Enemies who simply disappeared. And she just climbed into his car willingly. A knock sounds at her door. Brianna jumps. Closes the browser. Takes a breath. Yes? The door opens. A young man in a dark suit bows respectfully. Mr. Kang requests your presence for dinner, Miss Cole. He hesitates. He asks that you join him in the garden pavilion in 30 minutes. Brianna looks at the clock. Nearly midnight. Dinner? At this hour? The young man's expression doesn't change. Mr. Kang keeps unusual hours. He says he has information you need to hear. Information about why the Park family truly wanted you gone. Brianna's heart stutters. Why they wanted her gone. She thought she knew. Because she wasn't Korean. Because she wasn't wealthy enough. Because she wasn't suitable for their precious dynasty. But the way this man says it, the weight behind his words. There's something else. Something bigger. Something she missed. Tell him I'll be there. The young man bows and disappears. Brianna turns back to the window. Far below, Seoul glitters like a field of fallen stars. Somewhere in that maze of lights, her sister is celebrating a stolen wedding. Her former fiancé is pretending nothing went wrong. The Park family is probably toasting their successful deception. They think they've won. They think she's running scared. They have no idea what she's just walked into. And neither, Brianna realizes with a chill, does she? The garden pavilion sits at the edge of a cliff. Brianna walks the stone path toward it, her borrowed clothes whispering against her skin. Silk pajamas in deep burgundy, clearly expensive. Clearly not meant for a woman who grew up shopping at discount stores. The mountain air bites at her exposed collarbone, but she barely feels it. Her mind is racing too fast for cold. Paper lanterns guide her way, their soft glow turning the path into something from a dream, or a nightmare. She still hasn't decided which. Kang Jae-won waits at a low table set with dishes she doesn't recognize. Steam rises from porcelain bowls. Candles flicker in glass holders. Beyond the pavilion's edge, Seoul stretches out like a circuit board, all lights and pathways and hidden connections. He rises when she approaches. The gesture is unexpectedly formal. Old-fashioned, he's changed from his suit into simpler clothes, black linen shirt, dark trousers. But the tattoos remain visible at his collar, and the silver earring still catches the light. You came. He gestures to the cushion across from him. Please, sit. Brianna sits. The cushion is warmer than she expected. Heated, she realizes. Every detail in this place has been considered. You said you have information about why the Parks wanted me gone. She doesn't touch the food, doesn't pretend this is a social call. What do you know? Jae-won pours tea into 2 cups. The liquid is amber, fragrant, curling with steam. 3 months ago, the Park family began restructuring their offshore accounts, moving money through shell corporations in Singapore, the Cayman Islands, and Cyprus. He slides a cup toward her. Do you know why a family with legitimate billions would need to hide their money? Brianna's analyst instincts kick in despite herself. Tax evasion, asset protection, or they're hiding income from sources they don't want connected to their public business. The third option. Jae-won lifts his own cup. The Park family has been laundering money for the past decade. Drug money, weapons money, human trafficking money. They take a percentage, clean the funds through their construction and tech subsidiaries, and return it to its owners looking perfectly legitimate. Brianna's stomach turns. Hyun-woo knew about this. Hyun-woo manages it. He's been running the laundering operation since his father's health began failing 3 years ago. Jae-won's eyes hold hers over the rim of his cup. You didn't know, but you were dangerously close to finding out. The words hit her like a punch to the chest. What are you talking about? 3 weeks ago, you accessed files on Hyun-woo's personal laptop. Files related to a construction project in Busan. You were helping him organize documents for a board presentation. Jae-won sets down his cup. Do you remember what you saw? Brianna's mind races backward. The laptop, the presentation, the folder she'd opened by accident, thinking it contained the market analysis she needed. There were account numbers, she says slowly. Transactions I didn't understand. I assumed they were personal investments. I closed the folder and forgot about it. You saw the Cyprus accounts, the ones that connect directly to a cartel operating out of Myanmar. Jae-won's voice remains calm, but his eyes sharpen. The Park family has spent 10 years keeping those accounts hidden, and you stumbled onto them while looking for PowerPoint slides. Brianna's blood goes cold. That's why they canceled the wedding. They didn't cancel the wedding. They staged a humiliation spectacle to destroy your credibility before you could destroy them. Jae-won leans forward slightly. Think about it. If you had simply been dumped in private, you might have asked questions, sought revenge, gone to authorities. But after tonight, after the whole world watched you get replaced by your own sister, you're the scorned woman, the jealous ex. Anything you say about the Parks will sound like desperate revenge. The logic clicks into place with sickening clarity. They weren't just ending our engagement. Brianna's voice comes out hollow. They were eliminating a witness. Now you understand. She stares at the food growing cold on the table. Her appetite has vanished entirely. Everything she thought she knew about the past year has just been rewritten. How do you know all this? She looks up at Jae-won. About the accounts. About what I saw. About their plan. Because I have people inside the Park organization. People who report to me. His jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. And because 7 years ago, someone I trusted tried to expose the same information, the Parks had her killed. The pronoun lands like a stone in still water. Her. Who was she? Kang Jae-won is silent for a long moment. The candles flicker between them. Somewhere in the darkness, an owl calls. Her name was Soo-min. When he speaks again, his voice has changed. Softer. Rougher. She was investigating the parks for a story. She found the same things you found. And when she tried to publish, they made her disappear. Made it look like an accident. No body. No investigation. Just a reporter who drove off a bridge one rainy night and was never seen again. Brianna watches something shift behind his eyes. Pain, ancient and carefully contained, breaking through the surface for just a moment. You loved her. It's not a question. I was going to marry her. Jae-won's hand closes around his teacup. The knuckles go white. The Parks took her from me 2 weeks before our wedding. And then they attended the memorial service and offered their condolences to her family. The cruelty of it steals Brianna's breath. So this is about revenge for you. This was about revenge. He meets her gaze. When I walked into that ballroom tonight, I planned to take you as a trophy. A way to humiliate the Parks, the way they humiliated me. I would parade you in front of them, prove that their precious heir couldn't even hold on to his own fiancé, and then discard you once I'd made my point. The honesty is brutal, uncomfortable. And somehow, Brianna appreciates it more than any lie he could have told. What changed? Kang Jae-won sets down his cup, rises from his cushion, walks to the edge of the pavilion where the world drops away into darkness and city lights. I watched you. His back is to her, shoulders silhouetted against Seoul's glow. I watched you receive the worst news of your life in front of 800 people. I watched your sister take everything from you. And I watched you refuse to fall. He turns to face her. Most people would have collapsed, would have run, would have begged for mercy or screamed for justice. His eyes find hers across the distance. You stood there with your spine straight and your chin up and asked them why, even when they were laughing at you, even when cameras were recording your humiliation. You demanded answers. Brianna doesn't know what to say. That's not weakness, Miss Cole. That's not someone who will be a pawn in anyone's game. Jae-won walks back toward the table, stops directly in front of her. That's someone worth protecting. The words settle over her like a blanket. Warm, unexpected, dangerous. I don't need protection. The response comes automatically. The armor she's worn her entire life. No, you don't. Something almost like a smile touches his lips. But you do need allies, and information, and resources, all of which I can provide. In exchange for what? Jae-won kneels across from her again. The movement brings him closer. She can smell cedar and sandalwood, can see the individual lines of the tattoos climbing his throat. Help me destroy them. His voice drops low, intense. You have an analyst's mind. You've seen their accounts. You know their systems. Together, we can do more than expose them. We can dismantle everything they've built, take their money, their reputation, their freedom. Brianna's pulse pounds in her ears. This is insane. She should walk away, find a hotel, book a flight back to Detroit, rebuild her life far from Korean mafia bosses and criminal conspiracies and men with dangerous eyes. But then she thinks about Tanya sliding her arm through Hyunwoo's elbow, about the park patriarch announcing a new ceremony as if Brianna was nothing more than a minor inconvenience, about her own phone, filled with tracking software for God knows how long. They tried to erase her. They almost succeeded. If I help you, she says slowly, what guarantee do I have that you won't throw me away once you've gotten what you want? Kang Jae-won reaches into his pocket, pulls out a small velvet box. Brianna's heart stops. He opens it. Inside, nestled against black silk, is a ring. Not a diamond. An emerald. Deep green, the size of her thumbnail, surrounded by smaller stones that seem to pulse with inner light. This belonged to Soo-min. Jae-won's voice is thick. She never got to wear it. I've kept it locked away for 7 years, waiting for someone who deserved it. Brianna stares at the ring, at him, at the impossible thing he seems to be offering. I'm not asking you to marry me. Jae-won closes the box. I'm offering you a symbol, a promise. That ring is the most valuable thing I own, not because of its price, but because of what it represents. If I give it to you, everyone in my organization will know that harming you means harming me. You'll have my protection for as long as you want it. And in return, you give me your word that you'll help me bring down the Parks, that you won't betray me to them or anyone else, that what exists between us is trust, He holds the box out toward her. Do we have a deal, Miss Cole? Brianna looks at the emerald gleaming in candlelight, at the man kneeling before her with ghosts in his eyes and vengeance in his heart. 24 hours ago, she was about to marry into Soul's elite. Now she's being offered a partnership with its Shadow King. She reaches out, takes the box. Call me Brianna. And just like that, she seals her fate. But before either of them can speak again, the sound of tires screeching echoes up from the main gate. Engines roaring, multiple vehicles. Jaewon's expression transforms in an instant. The softness vanishes. The predator returns. Impossible. He's on his feet, pulling her up with him. No one breaches these walls. Lights flood the garden. Alarms begin to wail. And Brianna sees something she'll never forget. Armed men pouring through the gate, dozens of them. It seems the parks have more resources than I estimated. Jaewon's hand closes around her wrist. Stay close to me. The first shots ring out across the mountain. Gunfire splits the night like thunder. Brianna drops to the ground as Jaewon pulls her behind a stone pillar. Bullets chew into the wooden frame of the pavilion, sending splinters flying through the air. The elegant dinner setup explodes into chaos, porcelain shattering, candles toppling, flames licking at silk cushions. How many? Brianna's voice is steadier than she feels. Jaewon peers around the pillar, his eyes tracking movement in the darkness. 30, maybe 40. They came through the west perimeter. His jaw tightens. Someone disabled the sensors. Inside job. The words hang unspoken between them. More gunfire. Closer now. Brianna can hear shouting in Korean, orders being barked, boots pounding against stone. Jaewon's men are engaging the attackers. But the estate's security was designed for stealth and surveillance, not open warfare. We need to move. Jaewon grabs her hand. There's a passage through the east wing. It leads to a garage on the other side of the mountain. They run. The garden transforms into a war zone around them. Muzzle flashes, strobe through the darkness. Bodies fall on both sides. Brianna sees a guard she recognizes from the checkpoint take 2 bullets to the chest and crumple without a sound. Jaewon doesn't slow down. He pulls her through a side door and into the house. The elegant corridors she walked hours ago now echo with alarms and distant gunfire. Emergency lights cast everything in harsh red. This way. He leads her through a library, past walls of antique books and silk scrolls, through a kitchen where staff members huddle beneath steel counters, through a door disguised as a wall panel and into a concrete stairwell leading down. Their footsteps echo in the confined space. Brianna's borrowed silk pajamas are soaked with sweat. Her heart pounds so hard she can feel it in her teeth. Who are they? She gasps the question as they descend. Park family mercenaries? The patches on their uniforms suggest private military. Jaewon's voice is clipped, controlled. The kind that costs more than most countries' defense budgets. The Parks are desperate. They reach the bottom of the stairs. A steel door blocks their path. Jaewon presses his palm against a scanner, waits for the beep, and pulls the door open. The garage is massive. Underground. Filled with vehicles that range from armored SUVs to sleek motorcycles, to what looks like a small tank. But they're not alone. 3 men in black tactical gear stand between them and the nearest car. Their weapons come up the instant the door opens. Jaewon moves faster than Brianna's eyes can track. He crosses the distance in 3 strides, dodging the first burst of gunfire, grabbing the nearest attacker's weapon and turning it against its owner. The man goes down. The second attacker swings a knife. Jaewon catches his wrist, twists, and the blade clatters to the concrete. The third aims directly at Brianna. Time slows. She sees his finger tightening on the trigger, sees the barrel pointed at her chest, sees death coming for her in the fluorescent lights of an underground garage. Then Jaewon is there. Between her and the bullet, the shot tears through his shoulder. He doesn't fall, doesn't even stumble. He drives forward, catches the shooter's throat with his uninjured hand, and squeezes until the man's eyes roll back. Silence. 3 bodies on the ground. Jaewon standing over them, blood soaking through his black shirt, spreading like ink through water. You're hurt. Brianna rushes toward him. It's nothing. He's already moving toward a black Audi with tinted windows. Get in the car. You're bleeding. I've been shot before. He opens the driver's door. I said get in the car. She runs to the passenger side, climbs in. The engine roars to life. The garage door opens onto a tunnel carved through the mountain. Jaewon accelerates into the darkness, one hand on the wheel, the other pressed against his wound. Blood seeps between his fingers. There's a first aid kit under your seat. His voice is tight with pain he's trying to hide. I need you to apply pressure while I drive. Brianna finds the kit, opens it with shaking hands, pulls out gauze and bandages. I'm going to have to touch you. I'm aware. She reaches across the center console. Her fingers find the wet heat of blood, the torn fabric of his shirt, the ragged edge of the wound. She presses the gauze against it hard. Jaewon hisses between his teeth. Sorry. Don't apologize. Just keep pressure. They burst out of the tunnel and onto a mountain road. Below them, Brianna can see the estate burning, flames climbing toward the sky, the legacy of generations going up in smoke. Everything you built. She watches the destruction shrinking in the distance. It's all burning. Buildings can be rebuilt. Jaewon's knuckles are white on the steering wheel. People cannot. The road winds downward, away from the flames, away from the chaos, toward a city that has no idea what war just began in its mountains. Why did you do that? Brianna's voice comes out smaller than she intends. Do what? Step in front of the bullet. She stares at his profile, at the tight set of his jaw, at the sweat beading on his temple. You could have let him shoot me. You barely know me. Jaewon is silent for a long moment. The only sounds are the engine humming and the distant wail of sirens heading toward the mountain. When Soo-min died, he says finally, I wasn't there. I was in a meeting, discussing profit margins and shipping routes while the woman I loved was fighting for her life. His voice cracks almost imperceptibly. I swore I would never let that happen again. I would never choose business over people who matter. Brianna's hand still on his wound. I matter to you? He glances at her. Just for a second. But in that second, she sees something raw, something real. You took my hand in that ballroom. You chose to trust me when you had no reason to. His eyes return to the road. That makes you mine to protect, whether you like it or not. Brianna doesn't know what to say, so she says nothing, just keeps pressure on his wound as the city lights grow larger and the burning mountain grows small. They drive in silence for 10 minutes. 15. The bleeding slows. Jaewon's grip on the wheel loosens slightly. There's a safe house in Gangnam, he says. We'll regroup there. I have doctors who don't ask questions. And then what? Then we figure out how the Parks knew where to find us. His expression hardens. Someone inside my organization sold us out. Someone I trusted. Brianna remembers Madame Cha's warning. You are either very important to him or very dangerous. Perhaps both. You think it was one of your own people? I know it was. Those mercenaries knew exactly which sensors to disable, exactly which entry points to target. That information doesn't exist outside my inner circle. A traitor, inside the organization of Seoul's Shadow King. The stakes just got higher than Brianna ever imagined. The Audi pulls into an underground parking garage beneath a gleaming tower. Jaewon kills the engine, sits for a moment with his head bowed, his bloody hand pressed against his shoulder. I need to ask you something. His voice is quiet. What? He turns to look at her. In the dim light of the garage, his eyes are dark pools, unreadable. The Parks will try again. They'll keep trying until you're dead, or I'm dead, or both. Whatever happens next, it will be dangerous, possibly fatal. He pauses. You can still walk away. I'll give you money, documents, a new identity. You could disappear. Start over. Never look back. Brianna considers it. For exactly 3 seconds. Hyun-woo called me unsuitable, she says. My sister stole my wedding and my future. The Parks tried to silence me because I accidentally saw numbers on a spreadsheet. She meets Jaewon's gaze. I'm done running. I'm done being underestimated. I'm done letting people like them win. Something shifts in his expression. Respect, maybe. Or something deeper. Then welcome to the war, Brianna Cole. He extends his uninjured hand. She takes it. And in the darkness of that garage, with blood drying on her fingers and smoke still visible in the distance, Brianna feels something she hasn't felt since she left Detroit. Purpose. But as they exit the car, her phone buzzes. Not her phone, Jaewon's phone, the one he pressed into her hand before they left the burning estate. She looks at the screen. A message. From a blocked number. 4 words that make her blood run cold. Your sister sends her regards. Brianna stares at the message. At those 4 words glowing on the screen. Tanya. Her sister isn't just a jealous sibling who stole her fiancé. She's part of this. Deeply. Deliberately. Jaewon. Brianna holds up the phone. He reads the message. His expression goes still, terrifyingly still. It seems, he says quietly, We have more enemies than I thought. Somewhere in the city below, Tanya Cole is smiling, and Brianna realizes this war isn't just about the parks anymore. It's about blood. The safe house doesn't look like one from the outside. It's a penthouse suite on the 47th floor of a Gangnam high-rise. Glass walls, Italian furniture, art that probably costs more than Brianna's lifetime earnings. The kind of place you'd expect to find a celebrity or a CEO, not a wounded crime lord and a jilted bride covered in his blood. A doctor arrives within 20 minutes. Korean woman, mid-40s, calm hands and calmer eyes. She examines Jaewon's shoulder without asking questions, cleans the wound, removes the bullet with practiced efficiency, and stitches him up while Brianna watches from across the room. No serious damage, the doctor pronounces. Missed the bone, missed the major vessels. You're fortunate. Fortune had nothing to do with it. Jaewon flexes his shoulder experimentally. Pain flickers across his face, quickly suppressed. Thank you, Dr. Yoon. As always, your discretion is appreciated. The doctor packs her bag, glances at Brianna on her way out. Your friend should rest. It's the first time she's acknowledged Brianna's existence. He won't, but he should. She leaves. Brianna stands at the window, watching the lights of Seoul stretch to the horizon. Her borrowed pajamas are ruined. Blood stains the burgundy silk, turning it almost black. She should shower, change, try to process the fact that someone tried to kill her twice in one night. Instead, she's thinking about Tanya. Your sister. Jaewon's voice comes from directly behind her. She didn't hear him approach. Tell me about her. Brianna doesn't turn around. Her reflection stares back at her from the glass, haggard and haunted. What do you want to know? Everything. He moves to stand beside her, close enough that she can feel the warmth of his body. Who is she? What made her capable of what she's doing? Brianna closes her eyes, opens them, looks out at a city that suddenly feels like a battleground. Tanya is 2 years older than me. When we were kids, our mother used to say we were two halves of the same person. I got the brains. Tanya got the beauty. A bitter laugh escapes her. That was the story anyway. The roles we were assigned. You're intelligent and beautiful. Jaewon says it like he's stating a mathematical fact. Whoever told you otherwise was lying. Brianna ignores the warmth that spreads through her chest. My father left when I was 7. Just disappeared one day. No note, no explanation. My mother worked herself to the bone, keeping us alive. 3 jobs, 16-hour days. She used to come home so tired she'd fall asleep at the kitchen table with food still in her hand. She pauses, remembers, pushes through. Tanya blamed me. Said Dad left because I was always crying, always demanding attention, always needing help with homework or comfort after nightmares. She decided I'd driven him away, and she never let me forget it. That's not rational. She was 9 years old. Rational wasn't in her vocabulary. Brianna's hands curl into fists, but it got worse as we got older. Everything became a competition. If I made the honor roll, she'd find a way to sabotage my projects. If I got a boyfriend, she'd seduce him away just to prove she could. If I achieved anything, she had to take it from me. And your mother did nothing? My mother was surviving. She didn't have energy left over for mediating her daughter's wars. Brianna's throat tightens. She died 2 years ago. Stroke. She was 53. Silence from Jaewon. Not uncomfortable. Respectful. After she passed, I thought Tanya and I might finally find peace. We were the only family each other had left. I invited her to Seoul for the wedding because I wanted to believe people could change. Brianna finally turns to face him. I was stupid. You weren't stupid. You were hopeful. Jaewon's dark eyes hold hers. There's a difference. Is there? Because right now it feels like the same thing. He reaches out. His uninjured hand touches her chin, tilts her face up toward his. Hope is what separates us from animals. It's the belief that tomorrow can be better than today. That's not weakness, Brianna. That's what makes us human. She should pull away, should remind him that they barely know each other, should remember that he's a criminal, a killer, a man who lives in shadows. Instead, she leans into his touch. Just for a moment, just long enough to feel something other than rage. Then his phone rings. He answers. Listens. His expression shifts from soft to sharp in an instant. Where? A pause. How many witnessed it? Another pause. Keep everyone back. I'm on my way. He ends the call. What happened? They found the traitor. His voice is ice. One of my lieutenants. He was trying to flee to Japan with his family. My men intercepted him at the port. Brianna's stomach knots. What are you going to do? What I have to do. He moves toward the door. Stops. Turns back. You should rest. There's a bedroom through that door. Clean clothes in the closet. I'll return in a few hours. You're just going to leave me here? You'll be safe. This building has more security than most government facilities. He pauses. And I need to handle this alone. You don't want to see what happens to people who betray me. The warning is clear. He's not the hero of this story. He's something far more complicated. J1. She calls his name before he reaches the door. He turns. Be careful. Something flickers in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. Like he's not used to people worrying about him. Always am. He leaves. Brianna stands alone in the glass-walled penthouse, surrounded by luxury, stained with blood, drowning in questions that have no good answers. She doesn't rest. Instead, she does what she's always done when the world makes no sense. She works. There's a laptop on the desk in the corner. High-end, password-protected. But Brianna didn't graduate top of her class by accepting locked doors. It takes her 40 minutes to bypass the security. What she finds makes her forget about sleep entirely. Files, thousands of them. Financial records, communication logs, intelligence reports. The entire architecture of J1's empire, laid out in spreadsheets and databases. She shouldn't be looking at this. He didn't give her permission. If he finds out, he might decide she's too dangerous to keep alive. But there's something else in these files. A folder labeled Park. Brianna opens it. What she sees makes her heart stop. Years of surveillance. Photos of Hyun-woo, meeting with known criminals. Recordings of conversations about money laundering. Evidence that could put the entire Park family in prison for decades. But that's not what catches her attention. There's a subfolder, labeled with a single name. Tanya Cole. Brianna clicks it open. Travel records. Bank statements. Phone logs. Her sister has been in contact with the Park family for over a year. Since before Brianna got engaged. Since before she ever introduced Tanya to Hyun-woo. This wasn't opportunistic. This was planned. Tanya didn't steal Brianna's fiancé because she fell in love. She didn't come to Seoul to support her sister. She came because the Parks recruited her. Brianna scrolls through the records. Finds payment receipts. $200,000 transferred to a Cayman Islands account in Tanya's name. Dated 8 months ago. 8 months. Brianna was still picking out wedding flowers while her sister was being paid to destroy her. There's more. Phone transcripts. Conversations between Tanya and someone labeled only as Handler. One exchange stands out. Handler. Subject is getting suspicious. She found the Cyprus files. Tanya. I know. I'm handling it. The altar thing is still the plan. Handler. Mr. Park wants assurance she'll be discredited. Tanya. Trust me. By the time I'm done, no one will believe a word she says about anything. She'll be the crazy jealous sister, the unstable foreigner. I've been laying groundwork for months. Handler. And if she doesn't stay quiet? Tanya. Then we move to option 2. Handler. Elimination. Tanya. Whatever it takes. Brianna's hands tremble on the keyboard. Whatever it takes. Her own sister signed off on killing her. Her own blood agreed to her death if humiliation wasn't enough. The phone on the desk rings. The safe house's internal line. Brianna picks it up. Her voice comes out steadier than she feels. Yes, Miss Cole. It's one of J1's men. The one who delivered the dinner invitation hours ago. We've received a package for you. Should I bring it up? A package? From who? Hesitation on the other end. It was delivered by a woman matching your sister's description. She left before security could detain her. Brianna's blood turns to ice. Bring it up. She hangs up. Waits. 3 minutes later, a knock at the door. She opens it. A security guard holds a small box wrapped in crimson paper, the same red as Tanya's dress. Brianna takes it, closes the door, sets the box on the desk. Her hands don't want to open it. Her mind screams warnings about explosives, poison, horrors she can't imagine. But she needs to know. She unwraps the paper, lifts the lid. Inside, nestled against black velvet, is a photograph. Brianna as a child, maybe 6 years old, standing next to Tanya. Both of them smiling at the camera. Their mother's arm visible at the edge of the frame. Written on the back in Tanya's handwriting, "You should have stayed in Detroit, little sister. Now it's too late." Underneath the photograph is something else. A single bullet. And a note with 3 words. "Next one's yours." Brianna stares at the bullet gleaming in the low light, at the photograph of two sisters who used to love each other, at the promise of death from the only family she has left. She doesn't cry, doesn't scream, doesn't break. Instead, she feels something harden inside her, something cold and sharp and unbreakable. Tanya wants a war? Fine. Brianna Cole has been surviving her whole life. Now it's time to start winning. She picks up the phone. Dials J1's number. He answers on the first ring. Brianna? What's wrong? She looks at the bullet in her hand. At the promise it represents, my sister just sent me a message. Her voice is steady as stone, and I think it's time we send one back. What would you do if your own family wanted you dead? Have you ever trusted someone who turned out to be your worst enemy? Share your story in the comments. If you want to see Brianna get her revenge, hit that subscribe button right now. Things are about to get intense. The bullet feels warm in Brianna's palm. She rolls it between her fingers as the elevator climbs toward the rooftop helipad. 47 floors of glass and steel pass in silence. Beside her, Kang Jae-won stands with his injured shoulder wrapped in fresh bandages, his jaw set like iron. He returned from dealing with the traitor 20 minutes ago. Blood still stains the cuffs of his shirt. He hasn't said what happened to the man who sold them out, and Brianna hasn't asked. Some answers are better left unknown. The Parks are hosting their engagement gala tomorrow night. Jae-won breaks the silence as the elevator slows. Every major player in Seoul's business elite will be there. Media from around the world. Politicians looking for photo opportunities. And you want to crash it. I want to burn it down. His eyes meet hers. Metaphorically. The evidence you found on that laptop changes everything. We have enough to expose their money laundering, their criminal connections, their conspiracy to silence you. All we need is the right moment to release it. The elevator doors open onto the rooftop. Wind whips across the helipad, carrying the smell of rain and exhaust from the city below. A helicopter waits with its rotors already spinning. Where are we going? To see someone who can help us deliver the killing blow. Jae-won guides her toward the aircraft with his hand on the small of her back. A woman who hates the Parks almost as much as we do. They climb into the helicopter. The pilot doesn't acknowledge them, just lifts off the moment the doors close. Seoul falls away beneath them, transforming into a circuit board of lights and shadows. Who is this woman? Brianna has to shout over the rotor noise. Jae-won hands her a headset. His voice comes through the speakers, clear and close. Her name is Madame Kwon. She runs the most powerful media conglomerate in Asia. Television networks, newspapers, online platforms. If she decides to air something, 500 million people see it within the hour. And she'll help us? Just like that? She owes me a favor. Something dark crosses Jae-won's expression. I saved her daughter from a kidnapping 5 years ago. She's been waiting for a chance to repay me. The helicopter banks east, leaving the neon maze of Gangnam behind. They fly over the Han River, its surface reflecting the city lights like shattered mirrors. Then further, into districts Brianna doesn't recognize, toward a mountain estate that makes Jae-won's burned compound look modest. There's something else. Brianna pulls the photograph from her pocket. The one of her and Tanya as children. I found files on that laptop. About my sister. Jae-won takes the photograph, studies it. The Parks recruited her over a year ago. Brianna's voice catches despite herself. Before I even got engaged, they paid her $200,000 to infiltrate my life, to make sure I was discredited if I ever became a threat. You read my intelligence files. Yes. She waits for anger, for accusations about violated trust and crossed boundaries. Instead, Jae-won simply nods. Good. You should know everything about the people trying to destroy you. He returns the photograph. I would have shown you eventually. I'm glad you found it yourself. You're not angry? I'm impressed. A ghost of a smile touches his lips. Most people in your position would be curled up in a corner, processing trauma. You bypassed my security systems and gathered intelligence. That's not a victim's behavior. That's a warrior's. The helicopter descends toward a landing pad carved into the mountainside. Below, Brianna can see a traditional Korean mansion illuminated by hundreds of paper lanterns. Guards patrol the perimeter, but they're dressed in black suits rather than tactical gear. This isn't a fortress. It's a palace. They land. The rotors slow. One more thing. Jae-won stops her before she exits the aircraft. Madame Kwon is not a kind woman. She'll test you, push you, try to find weakness. Don't show her any. I've survived corporate boardrooms and Korean high society. Brianna meets his gaze. I think I can handle one media executive. She's not just an executive. Jaewon's voice drops. She's a queen, and queens don't grant audiences to just anyone. Tonight, you'll need to prove you're worth her time. They walk toward the mansion. The guards part without a word. Massive wooden doors swing open as they approach, revealing an interior that blends ancient elegance with modern power. Screens display news feeds from around the world. Servers hum in climate-controlled alcoves. Traditional art hangs beside satellite imagery. A woman waits at the center of it all. Madame Kwon is 70 years old, but her eyes hold the sharpness of someone half her age. Silver hair frames a face that has graced magazine covers and government dossiers alike. She wears a simple black hanbok, traditional yet somehow commanding, and she doesn't rise when they enter. Kang Jaewon. Her voice is smoke and steel. I wondered when you would call in your debt. Madame Kwon. Jaewon bows with genuine respect. Thank you for seeing us on such short notice. Short notice implies I had a choice. Her gaze shifts to Brianna. Evaluates. Calculates. This is the American girl. The one the Parks tried to throw away. My name is Brianna Cole. She doesn't bow. Doesn't flinch. And they didn't try to throw me away. They tried to destroy me. There's a difference. Silence stretches through the room. Then Madame Kwon smiles. Good. You have fire. She gestures to cushions arranged before her. Sit. Tell me why I should use my network to wage war on one of the most powerful families in Korea. They sit. Tea appears, poured by servants who move like shadows. Brianna notices that everything in this room is positioned to make Madame Kwon the center of power. The lighting, the sightlines, the arrangement of furniture. Nothing is accidental. The Parks are laundering money for international criminal organizations. Brianna decides to lead with facts. Drug cartels, weapons dealers, human traffickers. We have documentation proving connections to shell companies in 6 countries. I've known about the Parks' dirty money for 15 years. Madame Kwon sips her tea. Everyone in Seoul knows. The problem has never been evidence. The problem is that the Parks own prosecutors, judges, and politicians. Evidence is meaningless when the system is compromised. Then we bypass the system. Brianna leans forward. We release everything simultaneously. Financial records, witness testimony, communication logs, not to law enforcement, but directly to the public. Every television network, every social media platform, every newspaper in the world. Make it impossible to suppress. Madame Kwon's eyes narrow. That would require coordination across dozens of outlets, timing down to the second. One leak, one warning, and the Parks will activate their legal teams. Injunctions will fly. Servers will be seized. The story will be buried before it breathes. Which is why we need you. Jaewon speaks for the first time since they sat. Your network reaches places even the Parks can't touch. Foreign correspondents, international bureaus, platforms hosted outside Korean jurisdiction. And in return, here it is, the real negotiation. The exclusive. Brianna pulls out a flash drive. This contains everything. Financial records going back 10 years. Recorded conversations between Park family members discussing their operations. Evidence of 3 covered-up murders, including a journalist named Soo-min who was killed 7 years ago. Madame Kwon goes still. Soo-min. She repeats the name like a prayer. She worked for me, before she went freelance, before she started investigating the Parks. Her eyes meet Jaewon's. You were engaged to her. Yes. I always wondered what happened to that investigation. Madame Kwon's voice hardens. The official story was a car accident, but I never believed it. Because it was murder. Brianna presses the flash drive into the older woman's hand. And the proof is on this drive. Everything needed to finally give her justice. Madame Kwon stares at the small device in her palm. Something shifts in her expression. The calculating businesswoman gives way to something raw. Grief, perhaps, or rage long suppressed. The engagement gala is tomorrow night. Madame Kwon's voice drops to barely a whisper. 800 guests. Global media coverage. The perfect stage. We'll need a way inside, Jaewon says. They'll have my name on every security list. Leave that to me. Madame Kwon rises. I'll have invitations delivered by morning. Press credentials for your people. Technical access to the venue's broadcast systems. She looks at Brianna. You'll need to be there in person. When the story breaks, the Parks will try to spin it. They'll call it fabrication, jealousy, revenge. But if you're standing in front of them, if the cameras catch their reactions in real time, there will be no escape. I understand. Brianna stands. I'll be there. One more thing. Madame Kwan moves closer. Close enough that Brianna can see the fine lines around her eyes, the weight of decades of power and loss. Your sister, Tanya. She's been giving interviews all day, calling you unstable, claiming you threatened her life before the wedding. Brianna's stomach turns. Of course she has. She's very convincing. Madame Kwan's gaze is unreadable. By tomorrow morning, half of Seoul will believe you're a dangerous woman who tried to ruin a beautiful love story out of jealousy. She pauses. Are you prepared for what that means? It means I need to be more convincing than she is. Madame Kwan nods slowly. Then I suggest you get some sleep. Miss Cole, tomorrow, you go to war. And in war, the well-rested soldier wins. They're escorted back to the helicopter. Brianna's mind races with plans and possibilities. The gala. The evidence. Her sister's lies spreading through social media like poison. 24 hours. That's all she has. The helicopter lifts off. Seoul reappears beneath them, glittering and vast and full of people who have no idea what's coming. J1. Brianna's voice is quiet in her headset. Yes, if this works, if we destroy the parks, what happens to Tanya? He's silent for a long moment. That depends on what she's done. His jaw tightens. If she was just a pawn, manipulated by the parks, perhaps there's room for mercy. But if she was a willing participant in planning your death... He doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't need to. Brianna looks down at the city lights. Somewhere in that maze of streets and buildings, her sister is probably celebrating, drinking champagne, laughing about how thoroughly she destroyed her little sister's life. She has no idea what's coming. And when it arrives, there will be no escape. But as the helicopter banks toward Gangnam, Brianna's phone buzzes. A message from an unknown number. She opens it. A video. 10 seconds long. Tanya's face fills the screen, filmed in selfie mode. She's smiling. That same smile from childhood. That same smile from the altar. Hey sis. Tanya's voice is honey over broken glass. Heard you found my little gift. The bullet was real, by the way. Next one won't be a warning. She leans closer to the camera. Sweet dreams. The video ends. Brianna stares at the dark screen. Her hands don't shake. Her heart doesn't race. Instead, she feels something crystallize inside her. Something hard and bright and absolutely certain. Tomorrow, everything changes. And Tanya Cole has no idea that the woman she tried to destroy is about to become her worst nightmare. The emerald dress fits like armor. Brianna stands before the mirror in the Gangnam safe house, studying her reflection as stylists put the finishing touches on her transformation. The gown is the color of money, of envy, of new beginnings. It clings to her curves and pools at her feet like liquid jade. Her hair cascades in glossy waves. Her makeup enhances without concealing. She looks powerful. She looks dangerous. Kang Jae-won appears in the doorway. He's dressed in a black tuxedo that makes his previous suits look casual. The collar hides his neck tattoos, but the ones on his hands remain visible when he adjusts his cufflinks. He stops, stares. What? Brianna turns to face him. Is something wrong with the dress? No. His voice is rough. Nothing is wrong with the dress. Something passes between them. Electric. Unspoken. Then one of his lieutenants clears his throat from behind Jae-won, and the moment breaks. The cars are ready. We need to move. They descend to the parking garage. 3 black Mercedes wait in formation. Armed guards check weapons and communications equipment. The operation has the precision of a military exercise. Brianna climbs into the middle car with Jae-won. The door closes. The convoy begins to move. Remember the plan. Jae-won's voice is low. We enter separately. You're there as a guest of Madame Kwan, working on a documentary about Seoul's elite. I arrive 30 minutes later through a service entrance. We don't acknowledge each other until the moment we release the files. And if something goes wrong, my people will be positioned throughout the venue. If you're in danger, say the word orchid into your earpiece. They'll extract you within 60 seconds. Brianna touches the small device hidden in her ear. It feels like a lifeline. Or a leash. She hasn't decided which. Tanya will be there. Yes. And Hyunwoo. Yes. She looks out the window at Seoul passing by. Neon signs. Crowded sidewalks. Lives being lived with no idea that tonight everything might change. I need to talk to her. The words come out before Brianna can stop them. Before we release everything. I need to look my sister in the eye and ask her why. Jae-won is quiet for a moment. That's dangerous. She'll know something is wrong the moment she sees you. She already knows something is wrong. I'm still alive. Brianna turns to face him. But I've spent my whole life wondering why Tanya hates me. Why nothing I ever did was good enough. Why she needed to take everything that was mine. Her voice hardens. Tonight, I get my answer. One way or another, the car stops. They've arrived at a location Brianna doesn't recognize. A small restaurant, closed for the evening, with Madame Kwan's car waiting outside. This is where we separate. Jae-won reaches across the seat and takes her hand. His grip is warm, steady. Be careful in there, Brianna. The parks are cornered animals. Cornered animals are most dangerous. I know. And when you speak to your sister. He pauses. Whatever she says, whatever reasons she gives, remember that her choices are not your fault. Some people choose destruction, because it's the only power they understand. Brianna nods, squeezes his hand once. Let's go. She exits the car and walks toward Madame Kwan's waiting vehicle without looking back. If she looks back, she might lose her nerve. And tonight requires every ounce of courage she possesses. Madame Kwan sits in the back of a silver Rolls-Royce. She wears crimson silk and diamonds that catch the streetlight like captured stars. You clean up well. The older woman's eyes sweep over Brianna's transformation. The dress was a good choice. Green for growth. For money. For the envy your enemies will feel when they see you standing among them, unbroken. Thank you for the invitation. Thank me when it's over. Madame Kwan hands her a press badge. You're a documentary filmmaker tonight, working on a piece about philanthropic families in Asia. The parks agreed to participate because they think it will improve their image. A thin smile crosses her face. They're about to discover how wrong they were. The Rolls-Royce begins to move. 20 minutes later, they arrive at the venue. The Park family's engagement gala is being held at the National Museum of Korea. The ancient building has been transformed into something from a fever dream. Spotlights paint the sky. Red carpets stretch toward massive doors. Hundreds of photographers jostle for position behind velvet ropes. Brianna steps out of the car and flashbulbs explode. She walks the carpet with Madame Kwan. Cameras click. Reporters shout questions. Someone recognizes her and the whispers begin spreading like fire. Is that the woman from the wedding video? The one who got dumped? What is she doing here? Brianna keeps her spine straight and her chin high. Let them wonder. Let them whisper. By the end of tonight, they'll have far bigger things to talk about. The interior of the museum has been converted into a palace of excess. Champagne fountains, ice sculptures, a live orchestra playing beside priceless artifacts. 800 guests mill about in designer gowns and custom tuxedos, their jewelry worth more than small nations. Brianna accepts a glass of champagne from a passing waiter, takes a sip, lets her eyes scan the crowd. There, Hyun-woo Park stands near the center of the room, surrounded by business executives and government officials. He's wearing his smile like a mask, laughing at jokes that aren't funny, shaking hands with people who want his money. And beside him, wrapped around his arm like a snake made of silk, Tanya. Her sister wears white tonight, bridal white. She looks like a princess at her coronation. Every few seconds, she glances toward a massive portrait displayed behind the stage. A photograph of her and Hyun-woo, posed like royalty, announcing their official engagement. Brianna's fingers tighten around her champagne glass. Easy, Madame Kwan murmurs beside her. Not yet. I know. Go mingle. Establish yourself. Make sure people see you acting normal before the storm hits. The older woman glides toward a cluster of politicians. And remember, orchid, if you need extraction. Brianna nods. She moves through the crowd, smiles at strangers, makes small talk about art and weather and meaningless things, all while watching, waiting, calculating. 20 minutes pass. 30. Then Tanya sees her. The recognition is instantaneous. Tanya's smile freezes. Her hand tightens on Hyun-woo's arm. She whispers something in his ear, and he turns, and the color drains from his face. Brianna raises her champagne glass in a mock toast. Tanya excuses herself from the group, straightens her white dress, crosses the room with the deliberate grace of a predator approaching wounded prey. Well, Tanya stops 3 feet away. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes. Look who crawled out of whatever hole she was hiding in. Brave of you to show your face after the embarrassment you caused. The embarrassment I caused? Brianna keeps her voice pleasant. That's interesting. I seem to remember you being the one who stole my fiancé at the altar. I didn't steal anything, sweetie. You never really had him. Tanya examines her manicure. Hyun-woo was always meant for me. You were just practice, a placeholder while he got his rebellious phase out of his system. The lie is so smooth, so effortless, that Brianna almost admires it. Almost, is that what you tell yourself? Brianna steps closer, close enough to see the tiny tremor in Tanya's lower lip. That this was destiny? That you're not just a pawn the Parks paid $200,000 to destroy your own sister? Tanya goes still. Oh, yes. Brianna's voice drops to a whisper. I know about the money, Tanya. The Cayman Islands account. The phone calls with your handler. The conversations about option 2 if humiliation wasn't enough. She pauses. Tell me, did you feel anything when you agreed to have me killed? Or was it just business? For a moment, the mask slips. Brianna sees something flicker in her sister's eyes. Fear? Guilt? She can't tell. It's gone too fast. Then Tanya laughs. You always were dramatic. She waves her hand dismissively, making up conspiracy theories to explain why you failed, why you've always failed, why Mom always loved me more, why Dad left because of you, why every man you've ever wanted has eventually wanted me instead. Mom didn't love you more. Brianna's voice stays steady despite the knife twisting in her chest. She was too exhausted to love either of us the way we deserved. And Dad left because he was a coward, not because of anything I did. Keep telling yourself that. And as for men wanting you instead. Brianna smiles. It's not a kind smile. Let me ask you something, Tanya. Does Hyunwoo know about the recordings? Tanya's face changes. What recordings? The ones the Parks made of every conversation you had with them. Insurance, I suppose, in case their hired help ever got ideas about blackmail. Brianna leans in. They recorded everything, Tanya. Every negotiation. Every payment discussion. Every detail of how you sold out your own blood for a piece of a fortune you'll never actually control. You're lying. Am I? Ask yourself this. If the Parks were willing to publicly humiliate me at their own wedding, what makes you think they'll treat you any better when you become inconvenient? Tanya's mask cracks completely now. Brianna can see the calculation happening behind her eyes. The doubt, the fear. You don't know what you're talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about. Brianna finishes her champagne, sets the glass on a passing tray. I know that in about 15 minutes, Madame Kwan's network is going to broadcast evidence of Park family crimes to 500 million people. I know that every news outlet on 3 continents is standing by with documents that prove money laundering, bribery, and murder. And I know that when that happens, the Parks are going to need a scapegoat. She pauses. Lets the words sink in. Who do you think they'll sacrifice first, Tanya? The son they've spent 30 years grooming? Or the American woman they paid to do their dirty work? Tanya's breathing has gone shallow. You can't prove any of this. I don't have to prove it. Brianna turns to walk away. Stops. Looks back over her shoulder. The files do that for me. Check your phone in about 10 minutes. You'll see. She walks away. Behind her, she hears Tanya calling Hyunwoo's name. Hears the panic starting to spread. Good. Let them scramble. Let them taste the fear they forced her to swallow. Brianna finds a quiet corner near the museum's ancient artifacts. Touches her earpiece. I'm in position. Ye-won's voice comes back immediately. Confirmed. Broadcasting begins in 12 minutes. All systems are ready. And the Parks? The patriarch is in his private suite on the 2nd floor. Meeting with investors. He has no idea what's coming. Brianna looks across the room. Tanya is whispering frantically to Hyunwoo. His face has gone gray. They're both reaching for their phones. Actually, Brianna says quietly, I think they're starting to figure it out. Then we accelerate. Jaewon's voice sharpens. Move to the broadcast point. Now. Brianna heads toward the stage. The clock is ticking. And Seoul's most powerful family is about to discover what happens when they try to bury a woman who refuses to stay dead. The screens flicker to life. Every monitor in the museum. Every phone in the guests' hands. Every television broadcasting the gala to the outside world. All of them suddenly display the same thing. Documents, bank records, photographs, a flood of evidence that cannot be ignored. And a voice. Brianna's voice. Recorded earlier, now playing for 500 million viewers. My name is Brianna Cole. 3 days ago, I was supposed to marry Hyunwoo Park. Instead, I discovered the truth about his family. About their crimes. About the woman they paid to destroy me. Chaos erupts. Guests gasp. Phones light up as messages pour in from the outside world. Security guards reach. for radios that are suddenly filled with static. The Park family's carefully constructed world begins to crumble in real time. On the screens, documents scroll past. Transactions traced through 6 countries. Communications between Park Industries, executives, and known criminals. Evidence of 3 covered-up deaths, including a journalist named Sumin who got too close to the truth. And photographs. So many photographs. Tanya meeting with Park family lawyers, accepting envelopes, signing documents. Her face captured in security footage she never knew existed. The woman in these images is my sister. Brianna's recorded voice continues. She was recruited by the Parks over a year ago, paid to infiltrate my life, paid to ensure I could never expose what I accidentally discovered about their operations. The crowd parts as Brianna walks toward the stage. She moves like a queen through her conquered territory. Guests stare, some with horror, some with grudging respect. A few start applauding. She reaches the microphone just as her recorded message ends. Ladies and gentlemen, her voice carries through the stunned silence. I apologize for the interruption, but I believe the people of Seoul deserve to know who they've been celebrating tonight. Across the room, Hyunwoo Park stands frozen. His face cycles through emotions: shock, rage, fear. Beside him, Tanya looks like she might vomit. Her white dress suddenly seems less like a bridal gown and more like a surrender flag. The Park patriarch bursts through a side door. He's a man Brianna has only seen from a distance. 70 years old, silver hair, a face that has commanded boardrooms and political chambers for decades. But tonight, that face is purple with rage. Shut it down! He screams at security guards who can't shut anything down because the broadcast isn't coming from the venue. Turn off the screens! Someone turn off the damn screens! I'm afraid that won't be possible. Kang Jae-won emerges from the crowd. He moves toward the patriarch like a wolf approaching wounded prey. The broadcast is originating from 17 different countries simultaneously. By the time you file injunctions in one jurisdiction, the evidence will have spread to 1,000 others. The patriarch's eyes widen. Kang Jae-won, I should have known. This is your revenge for that reporter. Her name was Sumin. Jae-won's voice could freeze fire. And she deserved better than to be erased from history by cowards like you. Security guards start moving toward the stage, toward Brianna. But they're intercepted by men she's never seen before. Jae-won's people, positioned throughout the venue, now making their presence known. No violence, no weapons drawn, just immovable bodies blocking every path. It's over, Mr. Park. Brianna speaks into the microphone again. Police are already responding to the evidence being broadcast. International authorities have been notified. Accounts have been frozen. By tomorrow morning, Park Industries won't exist anymore. You stupid girl. The patriarch's voice shakes with fury. You have no idea what you've done. The people we work with, they don't forgive interference. They'll come for you. For everyone you've ever loved. You've signed your own death warrant. Maybe. Brianna steps away from the microphone, walks toward him. But I've also signed yours. She stops directly in front of the most powerful man in Seoul, looks him in the eye without flinching. You called me unsuitable. Her voice is quiet now. Just between them. You tried to erase me because I accidentally saw numbers on a spreadsheet. You paid my own sister to destroy my life. She pauses. But you made one mistake. And what was that? Brianna smiles. You let me live. Police sirens wail in the distance. Getting closer, the patriarch's face crumbles. The emperor suddenly without his empire. He looks at his son, still Frozina woman who was supposed to be his weapon. Looks at his guests, many of whom are already heading for exits, desperate to distance themselves from the falling dynasty. Arrest them. Jae-won speaks to someone on his phone. All of them. Make sure the international teams are coordinated. The doors burst open. Korean police pour into the museum. Not the corrupt officers on the park payroll. These are federal agents, coordinated through channels that bypass local interference. They move with purpose toward the patriarch, toward Hyunwoo, toward a dozen executives whose faces Brianna recognizes from the files. Park Sung-ho. An agent approaches the patriarch. You're under arrest for money laundering, conspiracy, and suspicion of murder. You have the right to remain silent. The patriarch doesn't resist. He's too stunned, too broken. Years of power crumbling around him like a sandcastle meeting the tide. Hyunwoo tries to run. He makes it 10 feet before agents tackle him to the ground. His designer tuxedo tears. His carefully styled hair comes loose. The golden son of Seoul's elite screams for lawyers as handcuffs close around his wrists. And Brianna turns to find her sister. Tanya hasn't moved. She stands exactly where she was when the broadcast began, her white dress now seeming to glow under the harsh emergency lights. Her face is blank, empty, like someone watching their own execution and unable to look away. Brianna walks toward her. The sisters face each other, perhaps for the last time. Why? Brianna asks the question she's been holding since childhood. Why was destroying me never enough? Why did you have to take everything? Tanya's eyes finally focus. Tears spill down her cheeks, ruining her perfect makeup. Because you always had what I wanted. Her voice is small, broken. You had Mom's attention. You had brains. You had a future that wasn't just about being pretty enough to marry well. She shudders. When the Parks approached me, they offered me something I'd never had. Value. Purpose. A chance to be more than just the jealous older sister. So you agreed to ruin my life? I agreed to be someone who mattered. Tanya's face twists. And yes, part of me enjoyed watching you fall. Part of me wanted you to feel what I've felt my entire life. Overlooked. Underestimated. Never quite enough. Brianna stares at her sister. At the woman who shares her blood, her childhood, her mother's eyes. She should feel rage. Should feel the satisfaction of victory. Instead, she feels something unexpected. Pity. You were always enough, Tanya. Brianna's voice catches. You just couldn't see it. And instead of building yourself up, you chose to tear me down. I know. Tanya's tears flow freely now. I know. An agent approaches. Ma'am, we need to take this woman into custody. Brianna steps back, watches as they read Tanya her rights, watches as her sister is led away in handcuffs, white dress dragging across the museum floor. Tanya looks back once. I'm sorry. The words are barely audible. I'm so sorry. Then she's gone. Brianna stands in the wreckage of the Park family's empire. Guests flee, police swarm, media crews that arrive to cover a celebration now document a dynasty's collapse. A hand touches her shoulder. J1. It's done. His voice is soft. They're finished. Brianna turns to face him. The man who offered her his hand when she had nothing, who took a bullet meant for her, who helped her burn down the people who tried to erase her. Is it wrong that I don't feel happy? She searches his eyes. I thought I'd feel victorious, triumphant. Instead, I just feel empty. He finishes for her. Revenge does that. You spend so long building toward a moment, and when it arrives, you realize it doesn't fill the hole you wanted it to fill. Does that ever go away? J1 is quiet for a moment. Sometimes, with time, and with something new to build toward. His eyes hold hers. Something worth more than destruction. The sirens outside reach a crescendo, then begin to fade, as the last of the Park family is loaded into vehicles. The gala is over. The empire has fallen. The story that began at an altar has reached its conclusion. But as Brianna stands in the ruins, she realizes something. This isn't an ending. It's a beginning. And for the first time since she crossed an ocean to chase a dream that turned into a nightmare, she's ready to find out what comes next. J1 extends his hand. Come with me. The same words he spoke at the altar, but different now. Weighted with everything they've survived together, Brianna takes his hand. They walk out of the museum together, into a Seoul night filled with sirens and searchlights and the aftermath of revolution. The woman who arrived as a jilted bride leaves as something else entirely. A survivor, a warrior, and perhaps, for the first time in her life, truly free. 3 months later, the morning sun paints Seoul in shades of gold as Brianna stands on the balcony of her new apartment. Not J1's safe house, not the penthouse where she once planned her wedding. Something entirely her own. A place she chose. A place she earned. Her phone buzzes with the morning news alerts. Park family trial continues. Patriarch faces life sentence. Son turns state's evidence against criminal associates. The headlines have been relentless since that night at the museum. International investigations uncovered even more than Brianna's files revealed. Connections to trafficking networks across 3 continents. Bribes paid to government officials in 17 countries. Bodies that were never supposed to be found. The Parks will spend the rest of their lives in prison. All of them. Including Tanya. Brianna hasn't visited her sister. Hasn't answered the letters that arrive weekly from the detention center. Each one filled with apologies and explanations and pleas for forgiveness. She's not ready. Maybe she'll never be ready. Some wounds take longer than 3 months to heal. Her phone rings, a familiar number. Good morning. Jaewon's voice carries warmth that still surprises her. The Shadow King of Seoul, soft with sleep and something that might be affection. Good morning yourself. Aren't you supposed to be in a meeting right now? The Chinese delegation can wait. She can hear his smile through the phone. I wanted to hear your voice before the day swallowed me whole. Their relationship defies explanation. Not lovers, exactly. Not just allies. Something in between that neither of them has tried to label. He gives her space. She gives him the same. They orbit each other like binary stars. Close enough to feel the gravity, far enough to maintain their own trajectories. I got the offer. Brianna watches a plane trace a white line across the blue sky. The consulting firm in Tokyo. They want me to head their Asia-Pacific division. Silence on the other end. That's a significant opportunity. Jaewon's voice is carefully neutral. Tokyo is only 2 hours away. I haven't decided yet, but you're considering it. She turns from the window, catches her reflection in the glass. The woman staring back looks different from the bride who arrived in Seoul 2 years ago. Stronger, harder, more certain of her own worth. I'm considering everything. She pauses. Including staying. Brianna. His voice drops. I've never asked you for anything except your help destroying the parks. I won't start now. Whatever you choose, I'll support it. I know you will. She smiles despite herself. That's one of the reasons I might stay. She hears him exhale. Release tension he didn't want her to know he was holding. Dinner tonight? There's a new restaurant in Hanamdong. They do a tasting menu that takes 4 hours. 4 hours? You realize I have a job interview tomorrow, which is why we'll start early. The smile is back in his voice. Pick you up at 6? Make it 7. I have to visit someone first. The call ends. Brianna looks at the letter sitting on her kitchen counter. Today's delivery from the detention center. Tanya's handwriting on the envelope, shaky and desperate. She picks it up, opens it. The words blur as she reads. More apologies, more explanations about childhood wounds and desperate choices, more promises to spend the rest of her life making amends. But there's something different in this letter. A photograph falls out. Brianna catches it before it hits the floor. It's old, faded. She recognizes it immediately. 2 sisters at the beach. Brianna must be 5, Tanya 7. They're building a sandcastle together. Both of them laughing, both of them innocent. Before jealousy, before betrayal, before everything that came between them. Written on the back in Tanya's handwriting. I found this in Mom's things. I thought you should have it. This is who we were before I forgot how to love you. I'm trying to remember. Brianna stares at the photograph for a long time. Then she puts it in her wallet. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But maybe the first step toward something she hasn't allowed herself to imagine. Healing. The afternoon finds her in a different part of the city. A cemetery on a hillside overlooking the Han River. Quiet, peaceful. Far from the chaos of downtown Seoul, she finds the grave she's looking for. Simple stone. Fresh flowers that she knows Jaewon replaces every week. Sumin. Brianna kneels before the marker. She never met this woman. Never heard her voice or saw her smile. But somehow she feels connected to her. 2 women who stumbled onto the same truth. Only one survived to tell it. I don't know if you can hear me. Brianna's voice is soft. I don't know if I believe in anything that might let you hear me. But Jaewon talks about you sometimes. When the walls come down and he lets himself remember, the wind rustles through nearby trees. Cherry blossoms drift across the grass. He says you were brave. That you refused to let powerful people silence you even when they threatened everything you had. Brianna touches the cool stone. I understand that now. I understand why you couldn't stop. Why some truths demand to be told no matter the cost. She sits back on her heels. The parks are gone. The people who killed you are facing justice. It took 7 years, but someone finally told your story. She pauses. I thought you should know. Footsteps behind her. Brianna doesn't turn. She already knows who it is. Jaewon kneels beside her. His shoulder brushes hers. The wound has healed, but he still carries his arm carefully sometimes. A reminder of what he sacrificed. You found it. His voice is thick. The caretaker told me where to look. They sit in silence together. 2 people bound by ghosts and survival and something that might be becoming more. I miss her. Jaewon's admission comes quietly. Even after all these years, even after everything we've done, there are moments when I reach for my phone to tell her something before I remember. That doesn't go away. Brianna thinks of her mother, Of phone calls she still wants to make to a woman who will never answer. The missing. It just becomes part of you, like scar tissue. Is that supposed to be comforting? It's supposed to be true. She finally looks at him. I've had enough pretty lies to last a lifetime. I'd rather have hard truths from someone who matters. His eyes search hers. Do I? Matter? You stepped in front of a bullet for me. She reaches out, touches his face. You gave me your hand when I was standing in the ruins of my life. You trusted me with the most painful parts of your past. Her thumb traces his cheekbone. Yes, J1. You matter. Something shifts in his expression. The walls he maintains so carefully develop cracks. Behind them, she glimpses the man he might have been if the world hadn't demanded he become something harder. Tokyo. He says the word like it hurts. I haven't decided. But you're thinking about it. I'm thinking about a lot of things. She lets her hand fall. I spent years building my life around other people's expectations. First my mother's, then Hyunwoo's, then the park's. For once, I want to make a choice that's entirely mine, even if that choice takes you away from here. Even then, he nods slowly, accepts her answer without argument. Another reason she might stay. He never tries to cage her, never demands more than she's ready to give. Whatever you decide. Jaewon rises, offers his hand to help her up. I'll be here, whether that's across a dinner table or across an ocean. I'll be here. Brianna takes his hand. They walk away from the grave together. The sun is setting now, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Seoul glitters below them, a city of secrets and second chances. Jaewon. He stops. The emerald ring. She touches her pocket, where the velvet box has rested for 3 months. You said it was a symbol. A promise of protection for as long as I wanted it. I remember. What if I wanted it to be something more? His breath catches. What are you asking? Brianna pulls out the box. Opens it. The emerald catches the dying sunlight and blazes like a green star. I'm asking if this ring could mean something different now. Not just protection. Not just alliance. She meets his eyes. Something chosen. Something real. Kang Jae-won stares at her. The Shadow King of Seoul, undone by a woman from Detroit who refused to stay broken. Brianna. His voice is rough. I've done terrible things. I've built an empire on fear and force. I'm not the hero of any story. I'm not looking for a hero. She steps closer. I'm looking for someone who sees me. All of me. The broken parts and the rebuilt parts and everything in between. I see you. He cups her face in his hands. I've seen you from the moment you took my hand in that ballroom, strong and scared and refusing to fall. Then take this. She presses the ring box into his palm. And when you're ready, ask me the question you've been afraid to ask. He looks at the ring, at her, at the future neither of them planned for. Not tonight. His voice shakes slightly. Tonight I want to take you to dinner. I want to watch you try that 4-hour tasting menu and pretend you're not calculating the bill. I want to walk through the city with you and forget that either of us has ever been hurt. And tomorrow, we figure out what comes next. He closes the box, slides it into his pocket. Together, they walk toward his waiting car. The city spreads out before them, alive with possibility. Behind them, cherry blossoms drift across a grave that finally has a story worth telling. And ahead of them, a future that neither of them could have imagined. But first, dinner. First, one perfect night. Tomorrow can wait. 1 year later, the wedding takes place at sunrise. Not in a grand hotel, not in front of cameras, not with 800 guests jockeying for social position, just a garden on a mountainside, cherry blossoms drifting on the morning breeze, and 40 people who actually matter. Brianna stands before a simple arch woven with white flowers. Her dress is elegant but understated. No French lace this time, no designer label, just something beautiful that makes her feel like herself. Beside her, Kang Jae-won wears a black suit without a tie. His neck tattoos are visible. So are the ones on his hands. He hasn't hidden who he is. Neither has she. Madame Cha officiates. Her eyes are suspiciously bright as she reads the vows they wrote together. Do you, Kang Jae-won, take this woman to be your partner in all things? In sunlight and shadow? In victory and defeat? For as long as you both choose to stay? I do. His voice is steady. His eyes never leave Brianna's face. And do you, Brianna Cole, take this man to be your partner in all things? In sunlight and shadow? In victory and defeat? For as long as you both choose to stay? I do. No one gives her away. She gives herself. The emerald ring slides onto her finger, the same ring that once belonged to Su Min. That waited 7 years for someone worthy of its meaning. Then, by the power vested in me by absolutely no one official, Madame Cha's voice cracks slightly, I pronounce you partners for life. You may kiss each other senseless. Laughter ripples through the small crowd. Jaewon cups Brianna's face in his hands. Thank you, he whispers, too soft for anyone else to hear. For what? For taking my hand when you had every reason to run. For seeing past the monster to the man underneath. For giving me something I never thought I'd have again. His eyes glisten. A future worth living. She kisses him. Not the chaste press of lips appropriate for public ceremonies. A real kiss. Deep and claiming and full of promise. The guests cheer. Someone throws rice. The morning sun breaks over the mountain and floods the garden with golden light. Later, at the reception, Brianna finds a quiet moment by the cliff's edge. Seoul sprawls below. The same view she's seen 100 times from Jaewon's estate. But different now. Not a battlefield, not a prison. Just a city where she built something meaningful, from the ashes of something destroyed. Quite a journey. She turns. Madame Kwan approaches, champagne in hand. The media mogul who helped bring down an empire, who gave Su Min's story to the world. You could say that. A year ago, you walked into my home looking for allies, covered in your enemy's blood, terrified but refusing to show it. Madame Kwan stands beside her. Now look at you, CEO of your own consulting firm, married to the most powerful man in Korea, untouchable. I'm not untouchable. Brianna watches a plane trace across the sky. I just finally stopped being afraid of getting hit. Same thing, really. Madame Kwan sips her champagne. Your sister sent a gift, by the way. The prison censors cleared it this morning. Brianna's stomach tightens. What is it? A letter. And something else. Madame Kwan pulls an envelope from her clutch. I thought you might want privacy. She walks away. Brianna stares at the envelope for a long moment, then opens it. A single photograph falls out. Not old this time. Recent. Tanya. Thin and tired, but somehow more peaceful than Brianna has ever seen her. Standing in a prison garden. Smiling at the camera. The letter is short. Dear Brianna, I heard about the wedding. I'm not asking to be there. I know I lost that right. But I wanted you to know that I'm okay. Not great. Not healed. But working on it. The therapists here make me write about my choices. Every week, pages and pages about why I did what I did. It's hard. Sometimes I want to stop. But then I remember that somewhere out there, my little sister is building a life I almost destroyed. You deserved better than me. You always did. I hope he makes you happy. I hope you make each other happy. I hope that someday, maybe, you'll want to know me again. Not as the sister who betrayed you. As the one who's learning how to be someone worth knowing. Love, Tanya. P.S. The prison library got a donation of business books. My cellmate says I'm annoying because I keep talking about market analysis. Apparently I have something called potential. Who knew? Brianna reads the letter twice, then folds it carefully and slides it into her pocket. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But maybe someday. Everything okay? Jaewon appears beside her. Getting there. She leans into him. It's a process. Most things worth having are. They stand together in comfortable silence. Watching the city. Watching the future unfold beneath them. I made a decision. Brianna speaks quietly. About the Tokyo offer. I thought you turned them down 6 months ago. They came back, tripled the salary, offered full autonomy over the entire Pacific Rim division. She pauses. It's the opportunity of a lifetime. Jaewon goes still beside her. What did you tell them? Brianna turns to face her husband, her partner, the man who offered his hand when she was standing in the ruins of everything she'd built. I told them I already have the life I want. She touches his face. Here, with you, building something that matters. Brianna. His voice catches. Don't. She smiles. Don't thank me. Don't tell me I'm sacrificing anything. I'm not. I'm choosing. There's a difference. He pulls her close. They sway slightly, almost dancing, as the reception continues behind them. Music drifts across the garden. Laughter rises and falls. Life goes on, beautiful and complicated and full of possibility. So what now? Jaewon murmurs against her hair. Now we live. Brianna closes her eyes. Whatever that looks like. Wherever it takes us. Together. The sun climbs higher. The day warms. Guests begin drifting toward cars and helicopters and the rest of their lives. But Brianna and Jaewon stay a moment longer. Two people who found each other in the wreckage of broken dreams. Two souls who chose to build something new instead of surrendering to what was lost. And one love story that began at an altar of betrayal and ended at an altar of choice. Not every ending is happy. Not every wound heals completely. Not every sister can be forgiven. Every enemy destroyed. Every wrong made right. But sometimes, if you're brave enough to take a stranger's hand, if you're strong enough to keep standing when the world wants you to fall, if you're wise enough to know that revenge is just the beginning, not the end, sometimes you find something better than the life you planned. You find the life you were meant to live. And that, beautiful people, is how a woman who lost everything at the altar found something greater than she ever imagined. In the darkest moment of her life, she discovered strength she didn't know she had, love she never expected to find, and a future built not on someone else's expectations but on her own unbreakable will. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had a moment when everything fell apart and you had to decide whether to break or rebuild? Have you ever trusted someone who turned out to be your salvation instead of your destruction? I want to hear your stories. Drop them in the comments below. Let's inspire each other with our journeys from rock bottom to rising. If this story touched your heart, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. More powerful stories like this one are coming soon, and you won't want to miss a single one. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that their darkest moment might be the beginning of their greatest chapter. Thank you for watching. Thank you for believing in stories that heal. And thank you for being part of this beautiful community. Until next time, remember this. You are stronger than your worst day. You are braver than your biggest fear. And your story is not over yet. It's just beginning.